Awesome. Cool. Let me share my screen. No, wrong button. There we go. Awesome. So happy Thursday, everybody. It's kind of nice weather outside, ties pretty well into today's presentation. It's real sunny, real bright, and today we're going to be talking about the power of sunshine. My name is Tyler Villarreal, as most of you know. I am a coach at Central Athlete. I am OPEC CCP and Precision Nutrition Level 1 certified. I'm from a small town in South Texas called Elsa, Texas. And I moved to Austin in November 2018 to work at Central Athlete. Best decision I've ever made. So real quick, we're going to talk quickly about our agenda for today. We're going to quickly just speak to sunshine over the last 100 years and its general perception, and some basic information about it. Sunshine's largest benefits, or benefit, I should say. We're going to talk a lot about vitamin D, and the importance of getting enough and why it's not great to get too little. We're going to talk about cancer, not just skin cancer, but other types of cancer and how they are also affected by sunshine, other sunshine-dependent bodily systems, supplementation of vitamin D, and what individuals that would be appropriate for, and our recommendations. And then lastly, we're going to get into some Q&A. To start off, this is a quote directly taken from the article that I got most of this information from. It's written by M. Nathaniel Mead. She starts it off by saying, "Each day, Apollo's fiery chariot makes its way across the sky, bringing life-giving light to the planet. For the ancient Greeks and Romans, Apollo was the god of medicine and healing as well as of sun and light. But Apollo could bring sickness as well as cure. Today, scientists have come to a similarly dichotomous recognition that exposure to the ultraviolet radiation and sunlight has both beneficial and deleterious effects on human health." So, over the last century, I'm sure all of us have at some point heard, have been told, or thought ourselves sun exposure can be hazardous. And as someone who was a very pasty young boy growing up, my mom is watching this right now. I've been told several times by her and have been proven wrong several times the amount of sunburns I've gotten that sun exposure can for sure be hazardous. UVA radiation deeply penetrates our skin and can create compounds that damage our DNA, and UVB radiation burns the skin and causes direct damage to DNA. So I'm not saying that sun exposure can't be dangerous or hazardous. It definitely can, but this is a one-sided, this is one opinion on effectively an argument that shouldn't necessarily have sides. What is the largest benefit of sunshine and getting enough of it? It is the production, the natural production of our body creating vitamin D. At least 1,000 different genes governing every bodily tissue are regulated by vitamin D, and at least 1,200 processes throughout the body are also regulated by vitamin D. So it's a very, very important hormone in our body. If we don't get enough of this, we will start facing myriad issues within our own health. So how is it made? There's a little diagram off to the side right here, but plain and simple, it is synthesized in our skin via photosynthetic reactions. And additionally, how much is produced is dependent upon the number of UVB photons that penetrate the skin. Fancy way of saying how much sunshine we get. This is dependent upon the clothing we wear, how much excess body fat we may have, how much sunscreen we're wearing, or if we're wearing any sunscreen, and how tan we are. How much vitamin D I produce is going to be different than how much vitamin D Stephen produces, or Megan produces, or than my mom produces, because not all of us have the same amount of melanin and same type of skin. Speaking more to that, again, taken directly from the article. So they found in 3 different types of individuals, they put them all in the sun for about half an hour, and then they tracked the levels of vitamin D released into blood circulation over 24 hours. So for most fair-skinned individuals, such as myself, you'd find about 50,000 international units. For more tanned individuals, you'd find 20,000 to 30,000. And for dark-skinned individuals, you'd find 8,000 to 10,000. So simply understood, the lighter your skin, the more vitamin D you're going to produce because you have less melanin. So quickly, I just want to run through just the sheer power of vitamin D. So these numbers off to the side, these represent nanograms per milliliter of blood serum vitamin D measured. So you find 20, this is bone only beneficial, so it effectively keeps your bones semi-healthy. 22 is where colon cancers begin to decline. At 30 is the minimum level most vitamin D scientists want to see people at. And very interestingly, we just jump 2 nanograms and we can find breast cancer rates begin to decline. Go to 34 is where colon cancer rates would likely be cut in half. Again, this is only 14 from our baseline 20 nanograms per milliliter. At 40 is where most individuals reach maximal bone density. At 53 is where breast cancer rates would likely be cut in half. At 60 is where some autoimmune patients' symptoms also begin to improve. And at 88 is the lowest blood toxicity level ever recorded. So very easily understood, the more vitamin D that we can place into our system, the greater benefits we can find in our health. Additionally, like looking at 60 right here is where some autoimmune patient symptoms begin to improve, and at 53 is where breast cancer rates can be cut in half. This goes back to vitamin D's function and over 1,000, over 1,200 functions within our bodies. It is so inherently important for our health. And if we don't get enough sunshine to support the generation of this, again, we can start running into some issues. Additionally, high levels of vitamin D may reduce the risk of developing multiple sclerosis, which is a very damaging disorder for individuals. And vitamin D is also one of the most potent hormones at downregulating blood pressure hormone renin in the kidneys. This ties directly into cardiovascular health. Again, vitamin D addresses a measure of our health processes. So deficiencies in vitamin D and their issues. So we'll start off with vitamin D deficiency in developing children. Developing children who are vitamin D deficient can develop rickets. How we can understand and I kind of identify this: improper bone formation in children, bow-legged kids. You can see some images over here of what rickets can present itself as. It's just an improper development of a child's bones because of the lack of vitamin D that they're getting. Quoted again from the article, low vitamin D levels will precipitate and exacerbate osteoporosis in both men and women and cause the painful bone disease osteomalacia. Looking down over here, we have a diagram that represents what a healthy bone looks like compared to a bone with osteoporosis. Lots of supporting structures in this healthy bone to keep it strong and dense. In an osteoporosis, a lot more hollow areas and a lot less support happening. Additionally, patients with cardiovascular disease are typically also vitamin D deficient. This kind of ties back into our last piece here. Vitamin D is really great at regulating blood pressure. Our blood pressure is related to our cardiovascular health. If we're deficient in vitamin D, our cardiovascular health decreases. Inverse relationship. Again, we do not want to be deficient in vitamin D. Next, we're going to talk about cancer, and which is likely the most talked about issue when it comes to sunshine and the dangers of it. I'm sure we've all heard stories, we've all heard of celebrities who have had to get melanomas removed from their skin because of unprotected and over excessive sun exposure. And by no means am I trying to reduce or make light of the truly damaging effects that sunshine and over excessive UVR exposure can have. We can suffer from 3 different types of skin cancer. We have melanoma sitting here at the top, basal cell carcinoma here on the right, and squamous cell carcinoma here on the left. These are scary things. They can metastasize and then travel to other parts of our body, and then cancer can truly start to ravage our system, right? Whenever cancer is in a localized state, our current medical system can address and get rid of it pretty easily, specifically in an instance where it's skin cancer. But if this metastasizes, it gets really difficult to address. And again, this is very much largely attributed to excessive UVR exposure. However, other forms of cancer result from too little UVR exposure, such as Hodgkin's lymphoma, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, pancreatic cancer, prostate cancer. If we don't get enough sun exposure, radiation from the sun, vitamin D in our systems, we can see right here just the myriad health issues that can come to us. And this next little bullet point, again, taken from the same study, is maybe one of the most impactful pieces of information from this whole presentation. Taking 2 to 4 times the daily recommended intake of 200 to 600 international units resulted in a 50 to 77% reduction in expected incidence of all types of cancer from Joan Lab 2007. This was a study that the article referenced. But just letting that sit in, right? That's a massive finding. If we, and this goes back to vitamin D in general, we can naturally produce it from getting sunshine. And if we get an abundance of it, the likelihood of us ever developing any cancer such as that cuts immediately in half over our lifetime. This is incredibly important to just sit with. Now, trying to balance this out a little bit more, right? Excessive sun exposure can for sure is a risk factor for cutaneous malignant melanoma, what I was talking about earlier, right? Melanoma can metastasize and then start attacking the rest of our bodies. However, it was also found that continued high sun exposure for individuals already diagnosed with melanoma was linked with higher survival rates within that population in early stages, to be clear. So it's very important to kind of take both sides of the evidence. Yes, overexposure to UV radiation can be very damaging to our skin and can produce skin cancer. However, not getting enough can be just as deleterious, if not more. A very interesting caveat also found is that most melanomas occur on the least sun-exposed parts of our bodies. So for example, I wear a t-shirt and shorts every day, so lower half of my arms, my legs, and my face are exposed to the sun every day. If I were to develop a melanoma, the likelihood of it developing on these parts of my body is a little bit lower. It would likely maybe be on my chest or my back, somewhere around those areas. Additionally, occupational exposure to sunlight, it adds to a reduced melanoma risk. So individuals who work in construction, landscaping workers, individuals who just work outside in the sun have a reduced risk of developing any sort of melanoma. Next, we want to get into how the sun affects our other bodily systems. We're going to talk about the immune system really quickly. Vitamin D is very important in supporting our immune system in general. And coming back to our little chart about blood serum vitamin D and its health effects, UVA and UVB radiation may help prevent autoimmune diseases, which is an incredibly important finding and incredibly supports why sunshine is very important for us. Additionally, UV radiation increases blood level endorphins, aiding in our skin's natural stress response to the sun. So what this kind of means is the more I expose my sun to the skin, it aids my skin's ability to respond to that stressor. It's kind of how I get a little bit more tan from getting in the sun more often. Lastly, and maybe one of the most important related factors of sunshine is our circadian rhythm. We are humans and we wake with the sun and we sleep with the moon. It's not often like that anymore in our constantly moving society, but just how intrinsically related the sunshine is with how we move through the day and our body's processes is incredibly, incredibly important. If we don't listen to our circadian rhythm, or our circadian rhythm goes off balance, that can lead to just a myriad other issues, right? Poor sleep will lead to poor blood sugar management, which can lead to weight gain, and then weight gain and body fat gain can lead to another slew of issues that we're all aware of as well. So these are all really important factors and systems that are dependent upon sunshine as well, outside of just cancer and vitamin D and how important it is. Again, going back to it, vitamin D is important for every single system in our body. So outside of these three, there are several more systems in our body that sunshine affects. Quickly, we're going to get into supplementation of vitamin D and who it's important for. First, we'll start off with pregnant or breastfeeding women. This ties back into developing children. We want to make sure that our children who are nursing are getting enough vitamin D in their diet. So whether that be through sunshine, which is immediately the easiest way to develop that. If women aren't pregnant or breastfeeding women aren't also getting enough vitamin D, then they aren't translating that through the breast milk to the child, which can lead to developmental issues such as rickets. Secondly, we want to make sure that the elderly are receiving enough vitamin D to avoid issues with osteoporosis or osteomalacia. We want to ensure that our elderly population has healthy bones for as long as they can have. Lastly, a very unique and much smaller population are those who must avoid the sun. Think about people who are albino, who are incredibly sensitive to the sun. It would be a lot more dangerous for them to actually stand outside for maybe even a minute and to get sun exposure. So we would want to make sure that they would then also get quality vitamin D supplements. And another little caveat here is to making sure that whenever we are supplementing vitamin D is that we get quality supplements. Sometimes just with how the supplement industry is, you can go to the store and buy a container for like $6. And for all you know, only 40% of what's listed on the label could actually be present in there. So be cognizant and conscious about the supplements that you're using for your vitamin D intake. Lastly, I'm going to quickly just go over our recommendations from Central Athlete for your own sunshine. And again, this is just with an asterisk. It's individual for everybody, but this is just a generalized approach that works very well for a large amount of people. 20 to 30 minutes per day of unprotected sunshine on about 40% of your body is a great prescription for a large amount of people. What does that mean? Someone like myself right now, I'm wearing a t-shirt, sleeve comes up to about half my arm, my shorts are above my knee, and my face is exposed. That's easily at or above 40% of my body. Going for a quick 20 to 30 minute walk in the sun can be incredibly beneficial in helping my body produce the vitamin D it needs. And naturally, as the more you do this, the more adapted your skin becomes to sunshine. So the more sunshine you can then get without it being harmful to you. We want to limit the amount that we wear sunglasses, just because whenever sunshine enters our retinas, it's a great cue for our circadian rhythm, and it gets things kicked off and it gets things going. And additionally, tailing off of our last slide, supplementation is important depending upon the individual. I do take a vitamin D supplement every day naturally just to boost my already solid levels as I get about 20 minutes of unprotected sunshine a day. And again, this is also very melanin dependent. I am a very pale person, I would say. So I would need a little bit less sunshine than someone who would be darker than me. Lastly, a quote from Dr. Greg Plotnikoff to kind of leave us here. Because vitamin D is so cheap and so clearly reduces all-cause mortality, I can say this with great certainty, vitamin D represents the single most cost-effective medical intervention in the United States. And an even cheaper supplement for those of us who aren't incredibly sun sensitive is just going outside and getting sunshine. You can tie that in. I've had other talks before that relate habit stacking. Let's say you want to get more walks in, go walk in the sun. Not only are you getting more vitamin D, but you're getting more steps in. It's an even cheaper solution than having to purchase vitamin D supplements. So with all that being said, I'm opening the floor in case there are any questions from anyone. Let me come back here. Yeah, so any questions from anyone based around sunshine, vitamin D, all ears.
So I don't have a question, but I'm curious maybe how you would begin to coach somebody who has this fixed mindset of, you know, sunscreen and the sun is bad. So it's like, what are the beginning steps, or how would you as a coach walk somebody through that who's a non-believer?
That's an awesome question.
You mean me?
Yeah, that's a great, very applicable question. I'll also add the asterisk. It depends on the individual. So everybody receives information differently, but how I would do it, it would just start with unbiased information and asking really good questions. So initially be like, why, what has led to you perceiving sunshine to being this completely damaging thing and this completely bad thing? What what are, and not framing the question like that, right? You'd start small, like, oh, so why do you feel that way? But what I want to understand is, what has this person learned throughout their life? What have people told them? What have their doctors told them? What has the internet told them that has vilified sunshine effectively? So once I can understand that, that allows me to better tailor how I would educate to them how that might not be 100% correct. And there's just a ridiculous amount of information on the internet that you can find. Like, it's how I found the information for today's presentation, to give to those individuals to be like, oh no, this is the more scientific based truth of how sunshine works. But it goes back to understanding why they feel that way first, I believe. And once you can understand that, then you can understand where they're coming from a bit more and give them a more personalized, judgment less opinion on that.
I think to add something to that, I think that's great, Tyler. Sometimes, this is just the conventional narrative is that sun is bad and the least amount is best. There's one study that actually speaks to this. It involved 30,000 women from the UK, and what they found is this sun avoidant lifestyle, actually they saw an increase in skin cancers overwhelmingly compared to their counterparts, kind of parents and stuff. The second thing is, like, from a philosophical level, I think that's where I can kind of get people at least partly bought in, is like, do you agree that, like, our ancestors, from a like preventable disease sense, they thrive. They might have died from infections and broken legs and stuff like that, but for tens, to hundreds of thousands of years, well, what do? Well, we ate fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and lean meats and all those things. We existed outside a lot, and that may be different depending on where I live. It would be different in the Arctic, if I was an Inuit Eskimo versus if I live in sub-Saharan African. So there are geographic differences that our ancestry connects back into, but we were a vital species for such a long time. And once the agricultural revolution came into effect, and then, really the industrial revolution, that's when we saw a lot of these preventative diseases, such as cardiovascular disease, cancers, neurodegenerative diseases. They started really increasing. And so it's just kind of an interesting thing to think about from a philosophical level. We drank healthy water, we slept a lot, we were in a social community, we ate close to the ground, and we got a lot of sunlight. Now, that doesn't mean like just jump out and bake yourself. You have to kind of graduate up. But I find that people can kind of get on board with the less sciencey stuff and that kind of philosophical piece of, like, how do we live, 100,000 years ago?
Yeah, that's great stuff, Jesse. It's a really good point too. I think that ties into understanding like why they believe that, because once you understand that client really well, then you can see like, oh, maybe they're super analytical and they want to see the study, or maybe they don't give a hoot about that stuff. And you can apply that philosophical base of, we were not individuals that hermited inside all day, like Jesse was saying. So it goes back to understanding who it is you're talking to and understanding where they're coming from and what sort of information resonates more with them. And then in a very, again, judgment-free response, offering that to them. I think that could be a really helpful, conducive way in helping someone get off of that side of sunshine is bad and getting more to a balanced area of a good amount of sunshine can be very helpful and supportive of my health and fitness.
And I'll just add one more resource that I can share with you, Megan, or if you have access to already. Precision Nutrition sent out, they had a great blog post, I want to say it was a few months ago, and it was basically about how to talk to clients about things that they may believe or ideas that they may be resistant to, and it kind of breaks down and gives a really good framework for how you interact with them. And Tyler did a great job. Like, that first step is being like really non-judgmental and like really curious about why they believe that, and then it goes into some other stuff. So if you get Precision Nutrition emails, you probably got it, but if not, I can definitely forward it to you, because I forwarded it to our whole team when we got it.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
Awesome. Hope that answered your question well. There any others? Mom, I have a feeling that you might be having an itching question.
Well, I mean, I just want to add something. I think you're very fortunate in the fact that you came, I mean, you were raised in such a strongly opinionated family in the Valley that had some very strong beliefs in a lot of the things that we believed in, and you had to defend yourself a great deal. So the way that you defended yourself, you did it with a lot of caution and a lot of that non-judgmental way. So I think that that's a great thing that you still continue to do. And I know that that's been very difficult in retrospect with me in reference to the sun. So I applaud you in your presentation, because now I have a greater understanding of where you come from and where it comes from. And I think I might stop hassling you about going out in the sun as much as you do.
No, I mean, I also understand you are being a mom, but it also is fair to make it a balanced discussion of, yes, it is incredibly beneficial, but also it can be very detrimental to our health if it goes the same with anything, right? Too much of something can be very damaging. Too much food can lead to long-term obesity, diabetes, lots of issues. Too much training can lead to a hyper-stress state, which leads to another myriad health issues. So it's just a matter of understanding where the individual is and how to apply a very great prescription for them, right?
It's like finding a balance.
Exactly. Someone like me, my prescription for sunlight is going to be different for someone like you, someone like Jesse. It's all different and it's all individual. So it's just a matter of taking into account all the information and how to best apply all that to that individual. But yeah, with all that being said, that was a great discussion amongst all of us. Appreciate y'all coming out. Appreciate y'all's thoughts and time today. I had a lot of fun with this. Again, my name is Tyler Villarreal. My email is tyler@centralathlete.com. My blog is tyler@villarreal.com as well. And my Instagram is @CoachTylerJV. If any of y'all wanted to reach out, have any questions about sunshine or personalized fitness and the benefits it can have for you, how a personalized prescription for sunshine can be helpful for you, feel free to reach out. But outside of that, thank y'all for your time.